Motivate News on the hour, every hour.
A breast surgeon at 2 private hospitals has been convicted of 20 counts of wounding by carrying out unnecessary operations. 59-year-old Ian Patterson invented or exaggerated cancer risks to convince patients to go under the knife. West Midlands Police say there could be thousands of victims. Detective Chief Inspector Caroline Marsh led the investigation.
When you go to a consultant, you go there in the belief that they will treat you as best they can. He's caused huge damage in terms of the trust that the public have with the health service and their patients, and that's something that's probably going to take a long time to repair.
A Tory MP who's reported to have described homosexuality as wrong and dangerous to society won't be standing at the election. Andrew Turner, who's represented the Isle of Wight for 16 years, is said to have made the comments to politics students in Newport. Police say they stopped an active terror plot during a raid in northwest London last night. 6 people were arrested after a woman was shot in Willesden. It's unconnected to yesterday's operation in Whitehall, where a man armed with knives was detained. Security expert Raffaele Pancucci says the terror threat is all too real.
The current threat assessment that the agencies put out is that the threat is severe, which means they expect an attack to be highly likely. And so if that's the assessment that you're putting out to the public, behind that there's clearly a lot of work going on, a lot of intelligence and police operations to disrupt these plots before they're able to come to maturity.
The US Secretary of State says threats of nuclear attack by North Korea on Japan and South Korea are real. Rex Tillerson has told the UN Security Council it must act before Pyongyang does. UK economic growth is now at its weakest since the EU referendum. Official figures show it's fallen from 0.7% to 0.3%. And plans for a garden bridge over the River Thames in London have been killed off on cost grounds. £37 million of public money has already been spent on it. Mayor Sadiq Khan has refused to allow any more. That's the latest. I'm Victoria Lawrence.
Good evening. We started our working week on a cold, wintry theme. We close it out on a relatively quiet story. A lot of cloud around, particularly out to the west, with the best of the breaks to the east. Predominantly dry, though. The showers few and far between. That certainly was good news for those who headed off for the first day of the Tour de Yorkshire. Perfect weather conditions, as you can see by this Weather Watcher's picture. The temperatures were pleasant at around the mid-teens, and it looks as though it's going to be a similar story as we move into the weekend. If you are heading there, it's going to be fine and dry, a bit more of a breeze perhaps through the latter stages of the weekend. For the here and now, it stays quite quiet. There will be some cloud around overnight, and temperatures are not going to fall very far at all. The breeze will pick up out to the west, and that generally will strengthen as we go through Saturday. But these temperatures to greet us first thing on Saturday morning, 5 to 9 degrees, so frost-free, and there should be some sunshine coming through right across the country. Showers, favoured spots are likely to be through Northern Ireland, southwest Scotland, perhaps close to the Lake District as we go on into the afternoon. But temperatures will start to pick up with a southerly breeze, highs of 17 degrees, 63 Fahrenheit, not out of the question. Winds will strengthen Saturday night into Sunday, and I understand there is a pretty important boxing match taking place at Wembley, which is outside. It looks as though it should stay dry right throughout the evening, but that strengthening wind will be quite noticeable if you're going to be sitting as a spectator. The rain arrives through the early hours of Sunday morning, pushing into southwest England, across into South Wales as well. Perhaps not reaching much of the UK during daylight hours. It'll stay quite warm into the southeast, maybe into sheltered western areas of Scotland as well. The temperatures will respond. By bank holiday Monday, the frontal system weakens off, a band of showers by then. Still quite breezy with it, but all in all, not a bad day for a bank holiday Monday, and top temperatures of around 10 to 15 degrees. So let's just summarise for this extended weekend. It certainly looks as though we're going to continue to see the winds strengthen, but it will be warmer than it has been in recent days. There will be some rain around, predominantly into the far southwest. What should we be getting at this time of year? Well, generally the average temperatures for bank holiday Monday are sitting at around 10 to 16 degrees, and that's what we'll get. Take care.
Motivate News on the hour, every hour.
What's red and bad for your teeth? A brick.
And a very good evening to you all. Welcome along to Motivate Radio. Probably got the normal listeners in, the people that normally, the regulars, should we say. Listen, we've got lots to get through tonight. I've just got to turn that down just a little bit. I do apologise. I've got a lead coming, actually, that will allow me to go live on YouTube as well with the sound from the sound card. But it won't go just there just yet. This is a story, and if you can see it as such, you know, I actually put a little post out the other day saying that obviously, you know, this terrorist, to say that he was on a watch list. You know, there's no two ways about it. You know, but they can't snare anybody apparently unless the act is being or going to be committed. So they've had to follow him. So this is how the police snared the Westminster terror suspect. MI5 and cops tracked a man on CCTV as undercover officers followed him on the tube before they caught him with rucksack of knives. Let's just have a little look at that for a moment, because they tracked him on CCTV, they followed him on the tube before they caught him with a rucksack of knives. He might have had a bomb in that and could have detonated that on the train. Is that not correct? Is that not an assumption we should make? You know, this is getting beyond a joke now, I do believe. And whilst we can't say that every Muslim is a terrorist. Every terrorist, certainly lately, is a Muslim. So, you know, our suspicions will be aroused. And if we're going to see people, you know, we're told on the trains and the buses and everywhere else we go, if you see an unattended package, then what we should be doing is reporting that. Now, how far does that go when people are being reported for something that they haven't done, maybe? Is that going to be a backlash on us? Are we racist and Islamophobes to say such things? Anyway, it goes on to say the terror suspect, who was detained with a rucksack full of knives near Parliament Square, had been tracked on an intricate web of CCTV cameras by police and MI5. And I've just popped into my head, it's almost as if they wanted other people to be killed. Why would you follow on CCTV and the tube when this guy had a rucksack on? You know, it's something's not right in the way that they actually operate. I would say they know these people, they know they're on a watch list, they've kept them under surveillance, they've done all sorts of stuff. Why do they not just deport these people from our country? Is that too hard to do? Really? Is that too hard to do? Just going to ask you if the sound's okay, by the way. I know YouTube is fine until we get the calls going. Just want to know how it's going on Facebook at the moment. Armed police swarmed like bees on the bearded man just before 2:30 p.m. after his concerned family reportedly alerted security services. So there's you know, look, read the article, for God's sake. You know, I've done a little video about this the other day. It said like 700 views. It seems absolutely fucking pointless talking about any of this. Do you know that? Excuse my language. So what we've got first of all, they tracked him on CCTV as undercover officers followed him on the tube before they caught him with a rucksack full of knives. So they've covered him. He was on a watch list. But the armed police swarmed like bees on the bearded man just before 2:30 p.m. after his concerned family reportedly alerted security services. So what sort of a watch list was he on then? A watch list that's not really being watched by the looks of it. How absolutely ridiculous that his family actually grassed him up. Witnesses said the man who was wearing a tracksuit and trainers was crossing Whitehall amid the usual crowds of tourists and political staff when a police car suddenly pulled up and officers confronted him. And this just 5 weeks after the Westminster terror attack that killed 5 people. But unbeknown to him, the suspect had been tailed from the moment he got off the underground at St James's Park, where he had travelled from East London and headed towards Westminster. While covert teams trailed him on the ground, a live feed was being sent to control rooms in New Scotland Yard and the MI5's Thames House before they gave the order for them to swoop in. So this man on a watch list, maybe, or it's his family that grassed him up, maybe. Who knows what has actually gone on, because this is the news, and we can't trust what the news say. Have actually watched him board a tube, come into London with a rucksack. They don't know what's in it. The family obviously didn't say it's full of knives. They didn't know, but they were concerned. Is this the state of our security services at the moment? Anyway, listen, you all know the story. You've all been reading the news. He was named. I forget his name now. They all sound the same to me, to be honest. Another Mohammed Abdul. something or other. So anyway, he's 27 years old. It's believed the suspect had been under round-the-clock surveillance. See what I'm saying? Look, the family's rung up, concerned about him, which has caused them to act. But he's on a watch list, and it is believed the suspect had been under round-the-clock surveillance and was tracked by 2 teams today with armed officers on standby. So that means this man was put into the general populace to cause harm. Is that not right? Is that an assumption I shouldn't make? This is ridiculous. It really is. Anyway, so we move on from that. Just another. We've got a great call coming up in a moment. By the way, we're going to get Graham on as per usual, because Graham is my co-host, although he does his own show on a Tuesday, and we're going to get Rob. No more than that, just Rob. He actually lives in Brent, and he is just round the corner, literally, or on the same street from where they arrested the suspects and shot a woman. So we're going to get him on very, very soon. But I'm just going to play you this from Aaron Banks, because obviously, with the furore of UKIP at the moment and everything else going on and banning the burqa, etc., etc., I just thought this might make a nice bit of easy listening for you.
Now, UKIP have made their first significant policy announcement of the election campaign today with a call for a ban on wearing the burqa and the niqab in public. But is it a policy that will meet with the approval of the man who bankrolled the party's last general election campaign, Aaron Banks? He joins me now. Welcome to the programme. Let me see if I can clarify a couple of things. Are you still a member of UKIP?
I'm a patron of UKIP, so I never stopped being a member of it.
So you are still a member?
I am. Apparently for life.
And are you still helping to bankroll UKIP?
Not at the moment, no.
Why is that?
I think at the moment we've had...
And Houston, we have a problem. I do apologise for the loss of sound. I'm trying to sort that right now. So it seems I can't play any videos for some unknown reason. It's going off onto Motivate, but it's not coming onto... it's not coming onto Facebook, although it was going to YouTube, but the volume was very, very low. Right, okay, we'll drop that one then. We'll drop the next one. I'll tell you what, we'll get Graham and Rob on a little bit earlier than expected. This coming from the Austrian Prime Minister. All women could be asked to wear headscarves in solidarity with Muslims. That's the Austrian president. And that was yesterday, 2017. The president of Austria has raised quite a few eyebrows after stating that there may come a day when all women are asked to wear headscarves out of solidarity, citing discrimination faced by Muslims in the country. Now let's get something straight here. This is supposed to be voluntary, is it not? No one should be forced to wear that. And to say that other people may be forced to wear that surely says that they're being forced as well. Alexander van der Bellend, who made the statements while speaking to students on Monday, began by stating that he believes it is every woman's right to wear whatever she likes. Am I missing something here? However, referring to discrimination against Muslims in Austria, the leader went on to state that if this continues with the widely spreading Islamophobia, the day will come when we will have to ask all women to wear a headscarf. All! Out of solidarity to those who do it for religious reasons. I mean, the Twitter, everything went absolutely mad, to be honest. Just another absolutely clueless politician and president of a country where we do believe that, you know, if we're led to believe that the burqa, the niqab, the hijab are all worn voluntarily. They wear it voluntarily, but what we're going to do is make our women wear that. So there's no voluntary involved at all. Absolutely ridiculous. And yet another one, this is from Your Brexit, obviously something we should trust, I expect. A report has revealed that less than 3% of migrants who reached Italy were genuine refugees. And I think we all knew that anyway. I mean, you know, let's not be stupid about this. We knew that anyway. And the United Nations Refugee Agency, UNHCR, said 181,436 migrants arrived in Italy last year. However, only 4,808 were granted asylum seeker status. The UNHCR report said that 90,334 of the migrants did not even bother to request asylum, but simply disappeared into the black market economy. Of the 91,902 who actually applied for asylum, 54,252 had their requests rejected unconditionally. Another 18,000 odd were given humanitarian protection status, and 12,000 were given subsidiary protection. These figures show the truth about the refugee crisis. There is no refugee crisis. It's absolute rubbish. This is nothing more than population replacement. I think we all know that. The majority of these people are not fleeing for their lives, but instead entering European countries illegally for their own financial benefit. So why are so many people supporting them? I think all we can say is that thank goodness we have the English channel, because it saved us more times than we can remember. I'm all for helping genuine refugees, but seeing as 90,000 of the migrants did not even bother to request asylum, that itself shows their true objectives. People in Italy are taking action against officials for allowing the influx of illegal immigration to take place. An example being Italy's anti-migrant Lega Nord, Northern Party, who are planning to sue senior figures for allowing illegal immigration. You know, so I mean, we've known this for ages. Why does it always take so long to come out? You know, I don't understand why it takes so long. Let me just check the sound. Sorry. Right, yeah, that sounds fine. Yeah, so we already know this, and it takes so long for it to come out. You know, so long to prove you right. Absolutely unbelievable. And another story today, or from a couple of days ago, Kent Police have passed the Tory election fraud investigation dossier to Crown Prosecution Service. Now they've got to decide whether they press charges or not. You know, this is what the CPS do apparently. But all the dossier has been passed over. The CPS will now review evidence before deciding whether to bring charges against the MPs involved. Prosecutors have a year to make the decision to press charges after an inquiry is started. It seems to me a year is just about enough time for people to forget and for this to just be swept under the carpet again, but I'm not going to go there. Which will run out in early June, just days before the general election. Listen, people aren't forgetting about it, we know that, and this is the whole reason we believe at the moment that Theresa May called a general election, because she knew that, I think it's 30 odd, if I remember rightly, 30 odd are being done for election fraud, and in which case lowers her numbers in the House of Commons. So, you know, according to local newspapers, the allegations concern Craig McKinley, the Tory MP who defeated Nigel Farage in South Thanet. The police began investigating more than 24 Conservative MPs after the Mirror revealed last March that they had benefited from battle buses packed with party activists but failed to declare the costs. Not declaring all election spending is a criminal offence, and the MPs involved and their agents face 1 year in jail and an unlimited fine if convicted. The Crown Prosecution Service has confirmed that it has received files from 14 separate police forces and is not confirming the names or even numbers of MPs. Well, there's a shocker. They won't tell us who's who. And just onto something that I feel very strongly about at the moment, it's the motorists and the way that we're being hounded. If you own a diesel car, you did so because you believed it would give you more miles to the gallon. You believed it was cleaner fuel, etc., etc. Although, you know, you go around London, you can smell the diesel and the buses and the lorries and what comes out. But, you know, we're now moving on again to speeding fines. And Jeremy Clarkson has asked the government to please stop crucifying us just for breaking the speed limit. And I think this comes down to the fact that you're talking 1 or 2 miles an hour over the limit, if I remember rightly, which is absolutely ridiculous. And this just all comes part and parcel, I expect, of what we believe our country to be and the way that our governments run this country. Because in actual fact, and we've said it, I don't know how many times, I'm going to say it again, our actual public services are much larger than our private sector. Okay, it is like that at the moment. Okay, this is your public, and this is your private sector. They must recoup money from you in any which way, shape or form they see fit. And this is exactly where it goes. It's extremely hard to understand the new guidelines for magistrates, but the headline facts are they're going to come into force on Monday. That if you do more than 100 miles an hour on the motorway, a speed which Brunel would have called a bit slow, you could be fined £1 million. You know, I know it's a little bit extreme, But we don't mind the new rules. It does keep people safe. But when you're talking about people that are doing 32, 33 miles an hour in a 30 zone, you can see that isn't really over any sort of safety. You know, if you're doing 40s and 50s, then fair enough, you're taking the mick. But you know, a couple of miles over the limit, that could be down to you looked at your sat nav, the speed on that, your speedo. You know, are all speedos exactly 100% the same? This gives rise to, I suppose, what we could call, you know. There'll be some form, I expect, of, you know, you'll be driving along, you're doing 30, next thing you know you're doing 31 camera, 31 miles an hour. You know, there should be a little bit of tolerance there, I do believe, of a few miles an hour either way. It's funny because people don't really get fined for going too slow, but we're always fined for going too fast. And everyone in this day and age, in the rush that they're in to get anywhere, and being late in traffic and the traffic lights, and you know, we're not going to go into that, but you understand where we're going with it. It's literally just another revenue that these people want to put upon you. So what I'm going to do, with no further ado, I'm going to call Mr. Graham Moore. I suppose I'll put it on video for him, bless him. No answer. How dare you? Oh, hang on a minute. What's happening here? Oh, really? Give us a second. I did tell him about 9:30, 9:45, so he's probably not there, but... For the door. Right, so he's not there. Well, I'm gonna have to try and play you a tune or something. I did believe I could play you something off of the net. I can't actually do that for some unknown reason. It's something to do with my sound card. But don't worry, because I've got a few bits and pieces that we can play. If I can find the folder. Actually, I'll tell you what I'll do. Actually, no, because that'll get me a ban, won't it? And they'll cut us off. I'll play one of these. Right. Tune coming up. Let me get hold of Graham and sort a couple of bits out so I can play you these bits and pieces on the videos I was going to play you. And we'll get back on it.
You got a fast car. I want to get to anywhere. Maybe we can make a deal. Maybe together we can get somewhere, and a place is better. Starting from zero, got nothing to lose, and maybe we'll make something. And me, myself, I got nothing to prove.
You got a fast car, I got a plane to get us out of here, and we're at the convenience store. Then it just saves just a little bit of money. You won't have to drive too far. Just cross the border and into the city. You and I can both get jobs. Finally see what it means to be living.
You see, my old man's got a problem. Live with a bottle, that's the way it is. He says his body's too old for working. His body's too young to look like his. My mom and I often left him. She wanted more from life than he could give. I said somebody's got to take care of him. So I quit school and that's what I did.
You got a fast car. Is it fast enough that we can fly away? We gotta make a decision. Leave tonight or live and die this way.
So I remember we were driving in your car. The speed so fast, felt like I was drunk. City lights lay out before us, and your arm felt nice wrapped around my shoulder, and I Had a feeling that I belong, and I had a feeling I could be someone, be someone, be someone.
You had a fast car. We go cruising, entertain ourselves. Still ain't got job. Work at the market as a checkout girl. I know things will get better. You'll find work and I'll get promoted. We'll move out of the shelter, buy a bigger house and live in the suburbs.
So I remember we were driving in your car. The speed so fast, I felt like I was drunk. Singing last night out before, singing I'm felt nice wrapped around my shoulder, and I had a feeling that I belong, and I had a feeling.
Oh, good God. Hold your horses! Give me a minute!
I gotta jump, there's all my bills. Stay out drinking late at night. See more of your friends than you do of your kids. I'd always hope for better. Thought maybe together you and me fine. And I got no plans, I ain't going nowhere.
Oh, just give me 2 minutes. 2 minutes. Give me 2 minutes, please.
We were driving in your car. Speed so fast, I felt like I was drunk. Sitting last night out before, singing I'm felt nice wrapped around my shoulder, and
Can you just give me 2 minutes, please? Give me 2 minutes, guys.
be someone, be someone, be someone. You got a fast car. Is it fast enough so you can fly away? You gotta make a decision. Leave tonight, live and die this way.
Now, UKIP have made their first significant policy announcement of the election campaign today with a call for a ban on wearing the burqa and the niqab in public. But is it a policy that will meet with the approval of the man who bankrolled the party's last general election campaign, Aaron Banks? He joins me now. Welcome to the programme.
Hello, Andrew. Hi.
Let me see if I can clarify a couple of things. Are you still a member of UKIP?
I'm a patron of UKIP, so I never stopped being a member of it.
So you are still a member?
I am. Apparently for life.
And are you still helping to bankroll UKIP?
Not at the moment, no.
Why is that?
I think at the moment we've had internal problems with UKIP, which I think have been well sort of aired. I think a lot needs to happen to the party, particularly in terms of professionalising it. And I think it's ill prepared for this general election.
Are you going to run in Clacton?
I certainly will be, if selected.
For UKIP? Have you been to Clacton?
I've not been to Clacton. Your little piece there was completely wrong, by the way.
Really, you could find
As
out.
I said, I knew where it was, but I didn't know much about it.
Maybe the people of Clacton, I mean, they'll regard you as a carpetbagger, will they not?
Why?
Because you've never been there.
I think most politicians are carpetbaggers. They're in politics for the wrong reasons, and I certainly will be down there to make a difference.
I always thought the reason why you wanted to fight Clacton was because of your just visceral hatred for Mr. Carswell.
There certainly is that.
And he's not going to run.
Well, he only lasted 24 hours after I announced my candidacy, so we'll see what happens. I mean, the main thing is I'm going down to Clacton Monday to meet the local UKIP councillors, see what the issues are, and see if they want me as the candidate. They may not want me.
Who do you think you'll be up against?
Well, I'm told that Giles Watling is a lovely bloke, so I think whoever they elect, he's the potential Conservative candidate.
Oh, the Conservative? No, I mean who in the UKIP will be?
I don't suppose anyone in UKIP will stand against me. I wouldn't have thought.
Really?
I would have thought.
Well, money talks.
Well, why do you say that?
Well, you told me about having a pirate radio station to blast into Clacton, so it's not covered by the election rules. You've been talking about financing a sort of right-wing momentum movement. I just wonder if has politics now just become a sort of rich man's hobby for you?
Well, I think from my perspective, the reason I'm interested in it is that if you look at what's happening out in the country, it's clear the Conservatives are going to win a massive majority. I think UKIP's policy should be put in country before party, and only putting up candidates against Brexit not against Brexit MPs.
Is UKIP over?
I don't think so. In fact, I think the electoral mass is quite interesting because first past the post effectively could actually help UKIP in this example. The SNP won 50 odd seats with 1.5 million votes. UKIP got one MP with 4 million, and what we're seeing is a total collapse of Labour. Now in that situation, certain seats up north in Hartlepool and other seats like that, the total collapse of the Labour Party could help UKIP to actually win a few seats.
Is UKIP over?
Well, it looks that way, yes. They haven't made much of a dent in Labour's vote in the north. They don't really have a defining issue anymore, and all the polls that we've seen published since the election was called show UKIP voters going to Conservatives.
Is UKIP over?
It always happens when the Conservative Party goes far to the right, which it is, really hard Brexit. There is no space for BNP, UKIP, and all of that. But what
are you associating BNP with the UKIP party?
Well, all right movements to the right of the Conservatives get eaten up when the Conservatives move as far right as Theresa May has gone. But I think what your enterprise shows is how it's really time to reform funding of political parties. It is disgraceful that very rich people can move in and bankroll the UKIP, the Brexit campaign to the extent that they did. We need proper state funding of parties. Well, not trade unions either. I want state funding of parties.
I assume the reform would include trade unions in your
Indeed.
Right. Is UKIP over?
Well, it's lost its talisman in Nigel Farage. It was a one-man party, I'm sorry to say. People liked him. Also, having voted for Brexit, its reason to be has gone. So it will still take votes off Labour and Conservatives, but only from probably the don't-knows.
I think that there are seats in certain places where if enough Tories back UKIP, they could win. Hartlepool is a good example, exactly, where Tories will never win. Okay. So I think you've been slightly, the demise of UKIP has been forecasted many times before, but I don't see a Tory candidate winning in a place like Hartlepool. Okay. And so we could see, and I think we will see, a total collapse of the Labour vote.
We shall see. The leader of the party of which you tell me you're still patron, Paul Nuttall, he said that he would ban the burqa and the niqab in public. What's your view?
I'm not personally in favour of that. I think people have a right to their religious beliefs. I think there are certain circumstances where if it's a security issue, maybe at airports or public transport, it's acceptable. But I'm not in favour of curtailing people's...
But in a way, you've gone a bit further than him, haven't you? Because you tweeted that you wanted to ban Muslim immigration.
Yeah, I mean, my view is that the problem we've had with lack of integration in certain communities has come about by mass open-door immigration. So I'm...
So if you're a Muslim, you just wouldn't be allowed in?
No, what I said in the tweet was, I think there should be a ban on immigration, particularly...
No, you said Muslim immigration.
That's what I believe.
So
we have a Muslim
So if you're
problem.
a world-famous doctor coming to help one of our big teaching hospitals in this country, because you're a Muslim, you couldn't get in.
We've got to start somewhere. There's huge problems in these areas where 20% of the population don't speak the language. They haven't integrated in. We have to control immigration. In fact, if you read the rest of the tweet, it's control of immigration. A 10-year ban on unskilled immigration and
the first thing you said is to ban Muslim immigration. It's in black and white.
I've said that. I'm not disputing
No, and I'm just questioning that.
Well,
really
there's my
is
answer.
what you want to do.
My answer is you can't possibly curtail someone's religious freedoms, but what you can do is stop adding to the problem.
Doesn't that sound a bit like the BNP?
I don't think so.
Like BNP, like Trump. It's just, we hate Muslims. Fine,
well,
that's what you're standing for.
The final word is that we've had open door mass immigration from the Conservative Party, we've had it from the Labour Party, and it's fine for you in North London to say these things. If you live in Oldham and your community has been radically changed and you've got a whole population there that are not integrating in, not speaking the language, something's got to be done.
All right. we better leave it there. Thanks for coming today.
This is not your little sister's radio station. If you're easily offended, turn it off now.
Well, I'm hoping that you can hear me.
Hello. You all right, bruv?
Hey, I am indeed.
Right, give me 2 seconds. Let me just call Rob in.
Do you want to just make sure your levels are all right? Because I have to adjust my sound on here as well.
Well, if you don't have to adjust it there, I can adjust it here, so don't worry about that for the moment. Here we go. Let's add. Let's add Rob. Yeah, a little bit of a problem there. It was, I thought I could play something off of my internet, but I couldn't for some unknown reason.
You couldn't what?
I couldn't play it off. Hello, Robert.
Hello.
How you doing, mate? You all right? Right, Graham, if you can turn your level down a little bit, my friend.
Turn mine down a bit, yeah?
Yeah, please.
Hang on, I'll try and find a level. That is. Hello, mate. Testing, 1, 2, 3.
Right, Rob, how we doing, brother?
Hello.
Rob?
Hello.
Hello, you're a little bit low there, mate.
Hello.
Hello.
Very well, thank you.
Right, you can hear us, yeah?
Yep, I can hear you loud and clear.
Right, okay, let me get my camera on.
I can hear you all right. So, are my levels all right now, or do you want them to go down a bit more?
Down a little bit, if you could, mate, please.
Just tell me if it's gone down a bit more. How's that?
I don't know until Rob. Rob, you okay, mate?
Very well.
Right, okay, listen, you're a little bit low, Rob, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn myself down a little bit. I'm going to turn Graham down a little bit and then turn you up a little bit, hopefully. Right, let's try that. Right, we had a little conversation earlier, Rob, about Brent.
I'm very well.
Right, we had a little conversation earlier about Brent and where you live, and apparently the people that were raided yesterday and the woman that was shot is just round the corner. Rob, I think you're listening to Motivate, mate. You need to listen to Skype and not Motivate if that's what you're doing. Yeah.
Hold on a second.
Yeah. Major delay there, bruv.
You're a famous man. Okay. How's that?
Yep, better. So we're all in sync now, I expect.
My apologies.
Right.
Can you hear me okay?
Yep.
Yeah.
Right, listen, this is a bit of a first. Obviously, Rob's only got his Skype set up tonight, so he's running at a little bit of a minimum. Right, so Rob, what I was going to say to you was the people that were raided in your area, literally just around the corner. I do believe you put up a video of that on Facebook, where the woman was shot from the armed police entering the premises. What can you tell us about the area of Brent at the moment? Now, I know you've sent me a few little bits and pieces. I'm going to get them up in a moment. But just give a little rundown, if you can, on how you've seen that area change and actually what's going on at the moment in Brent.
Around about, I would say, 10, 15 years ago, things started to change. This area itself was, I would say, it was multicultural, full of Aussies, Kiwis, transient population, if you like, Saffers, and then the local population, which was a mix of different groups, being Indians, English, some Muslims, if you like, but everyone, it's pretty balanced over. But I'd say in the past 10 years, it's changing. You've seen a major influx coming into Wembley, or coming down from Wembley into Harlesden, and then into Willesden itself. A lot of these that are coming in, they seem to be Somalians, which are coming in. So that's where the change is. You can see it on the streets. You can see it with the niqabs. You can see it with the burqas. You can see it with second, third generation I would say second generation Muslims coming in. So you've seen the changes, you've seen the shops change, you've seen housing change, especially social housing, you know, where they're moving into social housing. And there isn't really a lot, you know, to be happy about. And then obviously we've seen the incident recently, yesterday, which is, I would say I live in what I would describe as a crescent. And it's the crescent, and then where the incident happened was a road parallel to me. So it's this happened last night. Lots of police around, lots of police in masks, lots of police on the high street with guns. People are frightened. I've talked to my neighbours, talked to people I know. They are absolutely frightened. And what's so shocking is just on the corner, what has been used. It's actually a community centre, but it's used for. It's my local polling station, but on a day-to-day basis, it's actually a nursery. When you look at the video, it's on the right-hand side. There's just a small banner. You can't really see it, but that's actually a nursery.
So
and just people just shocked and just frightened here.
You know, I think we can say that quite comfortably over you know, quite a lot of the country at the moment, where we believe that, you know, listen, this has gone past integration and assimilation and refugees and trying to make a diverse country. This is actually wiping out what we would like to believe, and rightly or wrongly said, the white population from areas in which they, you know, grew up and have got family. You know, people are actually getting away from these areas over the problems that exist. Now, I'm just going to draw your attention to one, and one of the links that you sent me. Somali women in Brent are all victims of FGM, and this is from the International Federation of Gynecology and Obstetrics, women's things. And it says that every Somali woman in the Brent area of London, UK, has been the victim of female genital mutilation. A former leader of the local council has suggested. Anne John, who has spent decades fighting the issue, claims the World Health Organisation needed to accept that although it was right to focus anti-FGM efforts on Africa, where the practice is still prominent, in a number of traditional communities, other communities still had high rates of FGM. Now, you know, I mean, people... I've watched a few videos today. There's a woman in Australia, and she's turned around and said, you know, well, it's not actually mutilation, it's cutting. You know, they're trying to use different words to justify what goes on with these people. And I would say that, you know, it is child abuse in our country. We, you know, I didn't actually know until I watched one of David Wood's videos earlier, that in actual fact it is prescribed in the hadiths that you need to be cut. Both men and women need to be circumcised. So, you know, I mean, this coming from what we believe to be, and this is what's been said in the past, in actual fact it comes from an African tradition. You know, it's been passed on and been taken on by the Islamic community, and that isn't, or couldn't be any further from the truth. I think probably it's the other way around, and it's actually prescribed in the hadiths that these things need to go on. So, you know, Somali women, you know, all of these cultures living in one country with different, well, you know, a subculture, for want of a better phrase, to actually come to our country and try and fit in and assimilate and integrate. You know, this is, you know, diversity could be a wonderful thing. You know, integration and diversity and you know, the diverse cultures that we have, that we've had for decades and decades, from our Indian shop down the road that sells curries. You know, that's integration, it's assimilation, it's diversity. But we're not dealing with that anymore, I do believe. And the whole of Europe are seeing that at the moment. So where do we go with you know, I do believe you've sent an email, is that right, over this the Somali women and the FGM problem?
What I've actually done is, it wasn't over the FGM, it was this area used to be Liberal Democrats under Sarah Tebber. We've now got Dawn Butler, who's come from Haringey. Yeah, I knew you'd laugh. Who's actually come from, I think she's come from Haringey, she's come from East London. She's a former front bencher, now she's resigned, and she's here. I've spoken to her myself on the high street. I sent her an email, and it was to do with the Prevent programme that the government are running. And I asked her, You know, how many mosques are involved with the Prevent programme, how many are refusing to take part, and if they are refusing to take part, who are they and what they putting in place. This was 2 years, well, I'd say 18 months ago. She hasn't replied. I doubt if she will reply. She doesn't want to know. Nobody wants to know. I think there's a link that I sent you to do with that, where there's a number of mosques in Brent that are refusing to have anything to do with it. Actually, across London, they're not interested at all.
Right. Okay. You know, I don't know. I don't know what Graham's take is on this.
Well, actually, I've got a number of comments, as you would expect.
As always.
Well, first of all, I'll key straight into a number of points there. In West London, we've got, for example, Southall. Southall was predominantly dominated, and Wembley, by Sikhs. They come and they settled from Heathrow in them areas. There were no major problems and never had been major problems with the Sikh communities. There are now running battles in those areas between Sikhs and Muslims. Muslims are the aggressor, and what happens generally is, and again, this is borne out by education and the internet that they refer to as fake news. We are now educating ourselves. Now, if you go back hundreds of years ago, we would have never have been able to learn as quickly as we are now over the internet what the actual aims and what their strategies are when they move into areas. So whilst they're weak, that is, they move into an area and they're not in numbers, Muslims will they'll play the underdog and the victim, and as they grow in numbers, which is part of their plan, they'll go into the second phase. They start getting a bit more bolshy, and eventually they'll get to the third phase, which is the jihad stages, which is the rape jihad stages, which is the mosques, which is every element of it. But this is my crucial point. You've made a point about Somalians. Woolwich, where I come from, there was or still is, a heavy Sikh community. And again, they're lovely people, never had problems with them. They carry daggers as ceremonial weapons, and the reason in their religion that they carry that dagger is to protect the weak. Now, you never ever get any problems with Sikhs cutting people's heads off in the high streets. I've never heard of a Sikh problem with the daggers. The same as the Scots and their culture, kilts, knife down the inside of their sock. You know, you don't, even though there's a lot of alcohol up in Scotland, etc., and a lot of things that go on, you never really hear about that. You know, there's a problem with that. Now, the point I'm making is that Woolwich was always a highly working class area. It's where the MOD had their munitions factories. At one point, I believe they were saying like 180,000 people in total in the whole area employed by the Ministry of Defence. There was pubs every 100 yards. It was absolutely bustling.
Sure.
The Sikhs now, who was living in the area, they've been fantastic, and they blended in and they just got on with things. But now we have a very, very serious Somalian problem. And I've had nephews that have been robbed in Woolwich, in the high street, dragged down alleys, and literally had the shirts ripped off their backs at knife point, and the police do nothing.
Exactly. It seems to be, you know, as the demographic is changing. I mean, we've had a number of murders here, you know, involving Somalis. There was one just a few months ago. I don't know, you know, I mean, it was all over the news. That seems to be going on. This has been brewing for quite a while. I mean, we've had one guy here. I sent you a link regarding trying to join ISIS. who was convicted of terrorism offences. We've had another woman, I think the case went on for a little while, I think she was convicted last year for funding ISIS. And she was convicted. I think she's doing a number of years in prison at the moment. We've had others, and it's just getting more and more and more. And the people here, they're frightened. They're just frightened. They just don't know.
Just to give you, again, you've hit another point about murders. Not far from where I live, in a place called Erith, there was a council estate, and quite recently, in recent memory, within 4 or 5 years, I believe it was, there was a triple murder, and the triple murder were the Somalians over a heroin drug mini cartel that they had in the area, and they actually murdered 3 people on the estate in a property. Again, it caused a lot of disquiet locally. The strange thing is that complete estate now, it was run down, etc., has now been completely, hundreds of properties demolished, and they've rebuilt and built it up as if it is a property or type of property problem, when it's not. What the problem was were Somalians, and they've demolished the whole council estate to think that they can solve this problem. In one way, they probably can if they disperse that problem, but you can't disperse a problem when it's all going back to them, that community and those mosques.
Exactly. I mean, we've got a number of mosques here and cultural centres, Islamic cultural centres.
How have you? Sorry, Rob. How have you seen that grown over the past however many years?
Well, as you know, there's been a number of demonstrations by different groups. Not all of them I agree with, which have demonstrated over the past 3-4 years at the Muslim Brotherhood at Cricklewood Broadway. We've got a major mosque there, which is one of the oldest. I think it's been there since the 70s. But we're just starting to see more and more. I mean, I start to notice more. I mean, I look on the side of buildings, and there's another sign: Islamic Centre, Islamic Cultural Centre, this mosque, that mosque, Dar es Salaam Mosque. It's just building and building, and I just wonder. Look, I mean, I've been into polling stations. And I've seen the guy walk in, you know, with his wife who can't speak English, you know, pointing where to tick. You know, I've seen it. It happens all the time. It's just going on. It's just like, you know, we have a Labour MP. She's going to pander, you know, to that particular demographic. Of course she is.
So,
you know,
so where do we stand in your constituency with UKIP and Tory and Labour? Should we say, you know, how close is it, and do you feel that maybe there's a lot of talk at the moment, especially over the general election, especially over Gina Miller, and what Gina Miller says basically is that this general election should be a second referendum. So she is being funded, crowdfunded. Richard Branson stuck some money in.
I know, I saw it.
25 grand? No, I don't think so. More like 250 or a couple of mil. But she's being crowdfunded to literally change the vote. She's telling people how to tactically vote to get the result that you wanted. Now, I'm just going to put this out to you, and I say it every time, and I've got to say it again. We are dealing with a democracy, and 17.4 million people voted to leave the European Union. There was no hard or soft Brexit. It was out of the customs union. It was out of the free trade agreement. It was out of the freedom of movement of people. It was out of all of that. That was out. It was in or out. There was no okey-coke and shaking it all about. That's exactly what was going on. Now we've got the hard or soft Brexit. They didn't like it. They don't like it still. The Remainers don't like it. The Remainers don't like it. The MPs, the politicians don't like it. And Gina Miller, I do believe, has been put there by somebody else, obviously. I can't see. And from the videos I saw from her earlier, it was very much, you know, my court case. Right, not our court case. It was my court case. You know, I did this. It was me.
Know they share support from the Labour Party and the unions, probably the Libs.
Oh, she's had support from across the board. But you know, again, to change the voting with that amount of money, and for money to play some sort of influence on that. Gina Miller, for argument's sake, has done something that nobody else has done. Our democracy was working just fine. We've had referendums before, and nobody's ever gone to court and to Supreme Courts to get some sort of a judgment in favour of what she was talking about. But it's come to the point, I do believe, where the general election and for what's going on at the moment, it is like a second round referendum. That's what it is, and that's what they're turning it into at the moment. And you know,
they're trying to. What I would say there in this borough itself, it was Lib Dems for a long time with Sarah Tever, and then they parachuted Dawn Butler in. We've got 6 Tory councillors, and the rest are the Lib Dems were basically wiped out here. So the rest are Labour at the moment. We've now got Dawn Butler again, standing for Parliament in the election, and we've got a 22-year-old descendant of a Greek who's standing for the Lib Dems. So I'm not sure where my vote's going to be. UKIP are nowhere.
You know,
we do have one guy here.
Yep.
He's been around for a while. I forget what his name is. I haven't heard from him for a while, but I believe he's still around. But honestly, we don't get any Tory leaflets through the door. We get nothing from the Tories. Not that I really trust the Tories.
No.
I mean, they're backsliding already, to be honest. But we get nothing through the door. They're not out there canvassing. So it looks like it's going to be another Labour win.
So, you know, in certain constituencies, I mean, I actually looked at something, I think I sent it to you, Graham, earlier on. If I didn't, I do apologise. It was the stats of each constituency right across the country.
Yeah, no, I've seen that, yeah.
That's it, on who left and who wanted to remain, etc., etc.
Yeah.
And I think what we've got to do is, again, we're looking at the media. And this is why, obviously, I was talking about Gina Miller just now. Gina Miller is pushed up front again. She's on the BBC, she's on ITV, Channel 4, Channel 5, Sky, she's on RT News. She's absolutely everywhere, pushing this agenda that you have now got a second chance at this referendum. And for want of a better way of putting it, for us to believe that we live in a democracy and that the country is divided, and we know the country's divided over football and music and fashion and all sorts of stuff. You know, let's not even go there over being politically divided. But we're so divided at the moment that every politician feels a need to actually pull us all together and say, well, listen, we've got to deal with this Brexit, we're going to deal with it. Now, surely what you should do is take the majority, which is the Leavers, and go, right, well, we're going to do what you want to do, because that's the democratic vote. We're not bothered about the rest. We're not going to... Listen, you're going to have to follow along, right? But what they don't want to do is create more division, apparently. So what they want to do now is soften the blow with a soft Brexit. Now, this is going to mean, you know, obviously, the likes of Gina Miller, Richard Branson, the guy that owns Pimlico Plumbers, and the rest of their little consortium there, or consortium, should I say, that are putting money into this crowdfunding scheme to do this and leaflet and do what they do. You know, we're now being left with no other choice. I honestly believe this. I think it's going to take every lever getting out in the street. You know, I saw something earlier on the news, and there was you know, the bit at the bottom of the news there. It said that 45% of people now wish that they want to remain. And I actually thought, well, hang on a minute, it's supposed to be 48. You know, exactly. I mean, what are they? So what they're trying to say is that 45% of people now say, you know, I wish I wouldn't have made that. Listen, I haven't.
Less than the 48.
Exactly. You know, I mean, this is the media for you. You've got to read between the lines, and I know we all do, right? But again,
I've read that too. I was laughing.
I'm glad it weren't just me, Rob.
It wasn't. Look, I mean, what I would say, Daddy, look, I mean, I know Graham hit upon gang crime. There was a murder a couple of 2 years ago, I believe, maybe a little bit longer, and it was at a place called the Oxon Gate Pub. And what happened was there was a group of people drinking, but there was an Irish fella in there with his son. And these Somalians came in, nothing to do with those, and they attacked the father for some reason. I don't know. I believe it had nothing to do with him. Stabbed him a number of times. The son then tried to defend his father, and he was stabbed a number of times. He ran up the road where he was chased, and he was stabbed again, and unfortunately he was killed. It was called, the pub was the Oxon Gate. There's still flowers there. Not at the Oxford Gate, where the guy died every year. But that just goes to show the kind of violence that we're putting up with within our communities.
Well, it's a third world. It's the third world culture, Rob. Is it not? You know, I mean, you know, if you're dealing with countries that are lawless, relatively lawless, and these people are coming over, and then you get the likes of Gina Miller, and you've got the likes of the politicians allowing this to go on. What do we do as a people? I mean, you know, you mentioned earlier certain protests by certain groups that you don't really sort of hold in with, and this, that, and the other. You know, should it be a protest, or should it be just literally a gathering of people to say, look, hang on a minute, you know, we voted out, we've got this woman doing this, Labour are saying that, these people are doing this, these people are doing that, we've got gang culture in our country like you've never seen, FGM, Sharia courts, you know, the list is endless. And I know, you know, we're skipping from one to the other a little bit here, but, you know, at the end of the day, what I'm more worried about, I think, is the fact that people are being told, and this is where I was coming from earlier, to vote Tory. If you're a UKIP, vote Tory. Now, you know, at the moment, UKIP are 10%, or 11% maybe. The Tories are 48%, 47%, 45%. It keeps fluctuating. Is it really going to make any difference to take the 10% away from UKIP and put it onto Tory votes, when actually what you should be doing is voting for voting for UKIP, and especially if you don't agree with Tories and the Tory policies, vote for UKIP. If you're coming away from Labour, vote for UKIP. And in certain constituencies around this country, what you should be doing is looking as to who's where and who's what. And yes, it does take a little bit of work for you to do. And in certain areas, you will go, well, I'll tell you what, it's the divide between Labour and Conservative is so far, I'm not going to bother voting for Conservative. I'm going to vote for UKIP. And let's put UKIP above Labour. Why are people not getting that? And every post I see on Facebook, oh, I'm voting Tory, I'm not going to let Labour get in. Listen, Labour ain't going to get in. They've not got the numbers.
They're not going to get in. I mean, they're going to be wiped out in the north of England. How UKIP do, I don't know.
Well, that's down to us, Rob, isn't it? Really?
You know, I will. But where I'm looking in my borough, you know, where I do have Labour in charge and Lib Dems are in second, who do I vote for?
Well, you've got to go with the tactical and vote for the Tories.
Exactly.
Right, but other people around the country, you can go, well, listen, it's like that at the moment. I don't need to vote Conservative, so what I'll do is I'll vote UKIP. But it's
the margins are that small, yeah.
If the margins are that small, then you've got to vote Conservative. It's as simple as that. If the margins are quite large, and it is a Tory, you know, strong seat, or whatever they want to call it, a stronghold, then what you've got to do, you know, and most of these places, believe it or not, even though they're Tory held, voted to leave. So if they were, you know, if you voted to leave, then listen, you might not like all of UKIP's policies. I don't like all of the Tories' policies. The Tories don't like all the Tory policies. The Labours don't like all the Labour policies, but they still vote for these people. And what we're doing, in actual fact, is going, listen, is UKIP, piss off. We're going to go with Tory, because that's the general consensus of everybody on Facebook. It's everybody on the news. It's everybody everywhere. They just want to wipe UKIP out, from what I see, and keep that two-party system.
Exactly. Well, that is what they're up to. You know, I don't think Paul Nuttall's the greatest guy out there.
No, not at all. No.
But like, you know, I would say to the people, look at the margins. You know, look at what you believe in, and you know, tactically vote. I mean, especially those seats in the north of England where the margins are very, very small. Here it's different where I am, and it will probably be Conservatives. But in those northern towns and cities, yeah, get out and vote UKIP. You can make a difference.
Well, you know what? To actually go through what I went through earlier, I sent Graham the link. I should have sent it to you, actually. But it was the EU's, or, you know, whoever placed there, have actually put it out and said, look, this is the results of what went on. And you go, right, okay then. So, and you have to click on every one of every area, you know, around the country to get all the towns and cities. And, you know, to look at it, you go, well, listen, you know, that was quite a major vote out. You know, 20,000 opposed to 5, and you know all of these figures coming up. So it will take people, you know, and let's not be lazy about this. You know, if you want to make a difference, anyone that's listening wants to make a difference, then go on Google, have a look at who voted what where. That's all you got to say. A referendum, who voted what where. Do a search on Google, find your constituency, and say, well, you know what? Conservatives got in by a mile, Labour are nowhere to be seen, nor were the Liberal Democrats, nor was UKIP. I'll tell you what I'm going to do. They've already got a safe seat. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to vote UKIP. And we should all be doing that to maybe, you know, wouldn't it be great, don't you think, right, if maybe UKIP got more votes in more places around the country and actually put Labour as the third party? What would happen, Graham, if UKIP got the votes that we needed? How many seats would we have in Parliament, my friend?
Well, if they become the second party, then they would be literally the leader of the opposition. But to say that they would be the second party in the number of votes, I mean, I haven't gone through the detail of the figures, but you would be talking a minimum, I don't know what the figure is, but a minimum of 56. I mean, when you consider, I'm not sure how many Labour have got currently, but you'd certainly be taking a massive chunk of them.
So,
but that's highly unlikely. Well, it could happen if there is and again, I've done a little video on this. I'm not sure if it was on the ones that I've sent you. This is my opinion. We are under, even though there's three main parties, which is Lib Dems, Conservatives and Labour, yeah? Lib Lab Cons, literally. To me, we're still in a two-party tyranny. So you've got the Labour Party and the Conservatives. They agree on a broad element of things, if you like, left of centre and centre right. So as a centrist party, they don't argue about things, to be fair, that we want changed. For example, if we was to change the central banking system, none of us would be in the dire straits we're in now, because that is what's causing the problem. They don't want to do that. They want to keep that system. That's what keeps them in power, basically.
Yeah.
But they argue on the fringes, so it looks like they're in opposition to each other.
They're all cut from the same cloth, brother, aren't they? They're all cut from the same cloth. Simple.
Yeah, no, they are. So what I've seen now, to be fair, first of all, you know my opinion on Tony Blair, barring the fact that he's a Fabian. Tony Blair has, in the last few days, actually told Labour supporters or members or voters